In this video, I'll be ranking the 7 themed lands found at Islands of Adventure, starting off with number 7, Skull Island. I know this barely counts as a land, but since it doesn't fit into either Toon Lagoon or Jurassic Park, I figured I'd rank it separately. Since it only has one attraction and a food stand, it's a bit of a cheat to put this at the bottom, especially since the attraction found here isn't really that great. Still, despite its placement, the theming here is some of the best in the entire park, which makes it a nice little area to walk through. Number 6, the Lost Continent. This land has had it pretty rough recently. With the upcoming closure of Poseidon's Fury, this area will soon have no attractions to keep guests entertained. Sure, it still has mythos and some storefronts, but otherwise, this land is completely empty. Even with all that, I think the Lost Continent may just be one of the best lands in the world in terms of theming. The rockwork and architecture is masterfully done, and the scale of everything truly immerses you in this world. If it had a solid ride or two, this area could have some serious potential. In the end though, we'll just have to wait and see what the future holds for this troubled land. Number 5, Seuss Landing. This is the first land on this list that I'd call a complete package. With 4 different rides, several restaurants and shops, and colorful theming all throughout, there's plenty to do within this land. Well, more that there's plenty to do if you're a kid in this land. Most of the rides here are pretty basic, and clearly meant to entertain a younger audience. One Fish, Two Fish and the Carousel are well-themed clones of fairly basic flat rides, and while the Seuss Trolley Train ride is a nice standout attraction, the Cat in the Hat is in a pretty rough state. Not to mention, the food here is okay at best, and doesn't stand up to some of the other offerings in the park. That doesn't mean this isn't a solid area, but compared to the rest of Islands of Adventure, there's better stuff to be found. Number 4, Toon Lagoon. Now we're getting into the good stuff. With 2 of the best water rides in the world and some unique comic book theming, this land has a lot to offer. Ripsaw Falls is a solid log flume attraction with a great sense of humor, and Popeyes may just be the wettest water ride on the planet. There's also a solid kids area with Me Ship the Olive, and some great food nearby at Wimpy's. The rest of the food, however, is pretty mediocre, and sometimes the theming can feel a bit incomplete. Regardless, this is a land I always love to walk around, with plenty of visual gags throughout. Even if the characters aren't the most recognizable, Toon Lagoon remains a very solid land. Number 3, Marvel's Superhero Island. With 2 of the best rides in the park, this land already has a huge advantage. The Incredible Hulk Coaster is easily the most intense ride in the park, with a great initial launch and some crushing positive Gs. Then, only a few steps away, The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man might just be my favorite dark ride ever built. Surrounding that is some colorful theming based on the comic versions of some of the most iconic characters in pop culture today. The 2 things that prevent this land from getting any higher is the food and the rest of the ride lineup. The food here is just okay, and same goes for both Doctor Doom's Fearfall and Stormforce Accelatron. Even so, everything else about this land is really great, which puts it high up on this list for me. Number 2, Hogsmeade. This is one of the most recognizable theme park lands in the world, with a path of snow-covered storefronts leading to the iconic Hogwarts Castle. Within that castle sits one of the most innovative dark rides ever created, with Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Not only that, but this land likely has the best ride in the park with Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. With all that, I know most people would probably put this at the top of their list. However, for me, I think this land has a few small weaknesses that keep it at a close second place. In terms of kid-friendly offerings, Flight of the Hippogriff isn't all that exciting of an attraction, although it does have a cool animatronic at the start. Also, while 3 Broomsticks is immaculately themed, the food itself isn't my favorite, and not at all worth the wait it usually takes to get in. And that's the main downside of this land, the crowds. Of course, that's not the fault of the land itself, but due to the amount of people usually packed in this area, I rarely want to stay here for longer than I need to. To clarify, these 3 weaknesses are very small nitpicks for an overall fantastic land. However, considering how close these top 2 spots were, those nitpicks were necessary for me to choose my favorite land at Islands of Adventure. Number 1, Jurassic Park. This land really is the complete package. Jurassic World Velocicoaster is my favorite roller coaster ever made, with a perfect mix of both intensity and re-rideability. Not only that, but it has some great interactivity with guest walkways, which adds even more to this land's incredible theming. Along with that, Jurassic Park River Adventure is my favorite water ride in the park, with some great build up to an outstanding drop. When it comes to the food, Burger Digs is only second to Wimpy's in terms of their burgers, and if you're not feeling that, there's 2 other dining locations if you're in the mood for pizza or barbecue instead. For the kids, there's Camp Jurassic, which has some fantastic theming and even its own ride. On top of all that, there's the raptor encounter, the Discovery Center, some arcade games, shops, rock climbing, well, you get the idea. It may not be my favorite land in terms of theming, but what's on offer in Jurassic Park is simply unmatched. There's so much to do throughout this land, which ultimately makes it the best land at Islands of Adventure. For more on this park, check out my tier list of every single ride, and be sure to subscribe for more on Universal Parks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.